And can you tell us a little bit about the frequency of first contact? Like, you've helped us understand that human beings operate at different frequency ranges,
Yes.
and that the higher frequency states tend to be between 175,000 and up to about...
Yes. Open contact will require a stable frequency above 200,000 cycles per second.
Really? Yes.
Yes.
So are you saying the vast majority of people on the planet, as it stands now, would not experience first contact?
Correct.
And
at least not yet in their reality, in their version of Earth. They may change and experience it later on, but again, we are not expecting the idea, due to the probabilities of choices that you have on your planet, the vast majority that exists now, to be the majority that will exist during open contact. Those that shift to the other Earth will join those already there, already existing in that alternate reality, and they will form a new majority. But the majority of the individuals on your planet now, as you understand it, on the version of Earth you experience now, will not experience contact with us in the way that you understand that concept. They may experience other things.
When you say contact with you, are you talking about the Sasani beings, or are you talking about Pleiadian and other
There is
species?
a range. There is a range. Some may experience every variation you can imagine. Some will not experience us at all.
So if you're on the Earth now where you can see the other realities, the negative ones that are happening on the planet, but you're seeing it through the glass wall in that sense, will that be the case for those who experience contact, where they can see so many divergent realities?
Some may be capable. For some, it will simply not be relevant for them to perceive it that way. It depends on the individual and the theme that they are exploring and what they will do with that.
Do you expect then that large segments of the population would literally disappear from the reality of those that are going to have contact?
Yes.
Okay, and so that would not necessarily, how would that occur? How would that occur?
You are constantly shifting, remember.
Yes.
It may not actually be such a big mystery. The idea would be, just like sometimes you have contact with individuals you call friends, and then sometimes years later you simply find that you haven't seen them for quite a while, and you don't necessarily think anything of it. You just imagine they have gone on to their own path, and that your paths will not necessarily cross again. You may have different ideas about what that experience will be like, but it won't necessarily be a mystery for many. It'll simply be like people have simply left your life, have gone out of your life. Some may appear to have died, but some may simply not be around for so long that you simply don't think about them anymore, or you wonder where they went, but never encounter them again.
So I would imagine it's not an accident that we're simultaneously going through massive climate change and potentially a massive extinction event in coordination
Not
with
going to be talking about anything in the way of a prediction, but yes, such things are possible with the shifts going on, because again, you're shifting through versions of Earth. So you may experience a variety of things that are all representative of the splitting prism, until you make decisions to align with a particular timeline or path and other versions of Earth that will take you in a different direction.
Well, this will probably make more sense to us as we become more and more used to the level of plasticity, where the Earth can shift a great deal, our realities can shift a great deal. And some of the skills that we're learning right now are how to navigate changing realities that may let you feel unmoored or not as grounded to a specific reality.
Yes, temporarily, but it will become a normal state for you, a state you will get used to in the constant idea of shifting, because the more you understand that you are projecting and creating your physical reality, the less you will rely on the idea of stasis as a representation of stability, and the more you will feel comfortable with the idea that change is truly what is stable.
So that would figure into the idea that many humans do not enjoy change, or they believe that change is uncomfortable, fearful, creates anxiety.
Yes.
Those kinds of things is, in a sense, a skill set that we're learning, is how to be in physical reality, or as physical reality, with greater amounts of change and seemingly unmoored realities without having getting panicky.
It is not getting used to more change. It is getting used to the idea that you're constantly changing.
Because you mentioned when you're in spirit, you can navigate change quite easily.
Yes.
It's the natural flow. You're always experiencing the next chapter, in a sense.
And you are doing so even in physical reality, since that's nothing but a projection of consciousness. Again, it's just that most people on your planet are not aware of it because of the agreement you made to experience the idea of linear time and continuity. But once you accept the idea that you're constantly shifting billions of times per second, you can get used to that idea and form a new understanding and relationship with the idea of change as stability.
If there are a certain number of people that exist on your planet, then there is enough for all, as long as you all allow the abundance to come in the way that actually works for you. Because not everyone needs or wants the same kind of expression of abundance. So the idea is, if you all allow synchronicity to show you what your kind of abundance may be at any given moment, and this doesn't mean you can't have this kind then, and this kind now, and another kind later on. It can change around, but it will change around in such a manner that it will change around in harmony with everyone else's change around. So that if suddenly someone needs this, and you need that, and then later you need this, and they need that, it will change in perfect harmony, in perfect synchronicity. And you will get it when you need it, at exactly the right place, at exactly the right time. Not a moment before, but not a moment later either. The idea is to understand that you don't have to make any of this work. All you have to do is allow it to work, because it already works. It does. It really does. Honest. It does. Again, if it didn't, you wouldn't exist. You would not be supported in your existence at all. Please remember how unconditionally supported you are. You are so unconditionally supported by creation that you are even allowed to believe you are not unconditionally supported. That's how unconditionally supported you are. So take it at face value. If you actually have been given the ability to believe that you are worthless, that you are unsupported, that you are nothing, and yet you still exist, what you are being given is a demonstration that the universe is absolutely willing to unconditionally support anything you say is true about yourself. So if it's willing to support you when you say, I'm worth nothing, I am hateful, I am a bad person, I am worthless, if it's willing to support you there, it is certainly willing to support you when you say, I am creative, I am loving, I deserve. There is absolutely no difference in the eyes of creation, no contradiction whatsoever. And when you decide which one is true for you, there is nothing in existence that will contradict you. It will simply reflect whatever you have said is true about you at that moment. Because that's what it means to be made in the image of creation. That you decide. You have your free will to decide who and what you are, and that reflection is given to you through your passion, your joy, your love, your excitement. It's as simple as that if you want it to be. Of course, if you enjoy complication, by all means, please do so. Because I don't want to take away your fun. And if you feel like struggling, if you feel like making an effort out of it, by all means do so, because that's valid too. That's the point. It's all valid. And when it becomes all valid, when you do not judge this as being less than that, then paradoxically you will actually get what you prefer more often, because you are not focused on trying not to get that. The idea is that when every choice is equal, then it is easy to choose what you prefer. But if you are afraid of certain choices and devalue them, then you're actually devaluing a part of creation, and you will only get the reflection that you are devaluing a part of yourself. And therefore, you will be forced, in a sense, simply by the nature of existence, to focus on the thing you are devaluing, because that's where your focus is. You're putting undue energy on making it stand out in some way, shape, or form from the rest of the choices that you could make that are all equal. And any time you make something stand out, you're putting energy into it and saying, this needs to be bigger and more important than anything else. And therefore, whether positive or negative, it will be. Until you can relax your insistence that it needs to be so important and allow yourself to know that it will not control you, it will simply respond to you in whatever way, shape, or form you start choosing to respond to the idea of yourself. Again, we may discuss some of this at length. Now, in keeping, first of all, with the idea of the area you are in on your planet, and in keeping with the idea that many of you recognize it as a strong vortex location, we ask the question, what is a vortex actually? All right. Well, some of you have described the idea that it is energy in motion, swirling energy and spiraling motion. Yes. Some of you have said it is a gateway, it is a doorway. Yes. Some of you have said it is a reflection and an opportunity to understand more and more of who I am. Yes. But what is it actually? Well, as you understand the idea of physical reality and know that in a sense it is an illusion, nevertheless the experience is real. And the experience, being real, cloaks itself in certain symbols. One symbol being electromagnetic energy. Now, this electromagnetic energy is the first level of physicalization from higher non-physical frequencies of consciousness. This electromagnetic energy, what you may call spirit matter, if you wish, densifies and densifies and densifies and densifies, much like the idea of steam to water to ice. All made of the same stuff, you might say, but at different frequencies, different experiences, going from the less material to the denser material of the physical world experience. Again, yes, illusionary, but the experience is real as you describe it, and as you have collectively agreed to participate in it to varying degrees. The vortex, therefore, is that which is representative of, shall we say, vibrational, harmonic, nodal points in your reality that represent all stages of frequency, from lowest to highest, in that sense, that make up the experience you are having and connect you to higher realms as well. It represents a scale, a spectrum, if you will, of those nodal point frequencies that allow for access into different domains of consciousness. It is, in that sense, therefore, capable of being utilized as an unlocking mechanism in a variety of ways according to whatever your imagination is attracted most to. Because every technique and every tool and every situation is what we call a permission slip. Anything like that is actually not doing the thing itself in terms of the changes you feel, but it is reflective of and representative of the idea of your belief system as it might exist at present. And as you find yourself attracted to be in certain locations and take advantage of certain vortices and energies, the idea is that you have attracted yourself to that because that represents the arrangement at that moment of your belief system, and that in that it reflects the arrangement of your belief system. It gives you insight into yourself sufficiently to allow you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. So it's not like the vortex is doing it for you, but the vortex is like a reflection of what you are willing within your belief system structure to allow yourself to give yourself permission to do. So all these things are permission slips to allow you to give yourself permission based on your belief system of allowing yourself to be more of who you prefer to be. In that you have gravitated to this particular one, all of you, It is clear that you all have similarity of frequency, even though it is also quite varied. But the idea is that each of you know, each of you are familiar with the idea that this is a reflection of many different levels of frequency. And each of you are able, through a variety of experiences and reasons, to use this energy in a variety of ways as befits who you are as a being. And you can come together and sometimes work at this in groups, or you can do it individually and or both. But the idea is that when you do allow yourself to form that relationship with those nodal points of multiple frequencies, up the scale, as it were, and stand in that energy, then what that does is it starts those vibrations going in you, all the way up the scale to whatever degree your belief system is willing to handle it, in whatever manner, whatever format. And by unlocking those things in that way, it will allow the belief systems that are within you that are out of alignment to be brought to the forefront and dealt with and integrated. And allow them to be transformed into belief systems that are within alignment to the joy, creative love, and excitement that represents your true, natural, vibrational self. So take advantage of it in whatever way, shape, or form you so desire, but understand that as you stand in a vortex, you are the vortex yourself. And the vortex around you is, in a sense, a projection of the vortex you are, of the nodal point you are, of the multidimensional being you each are. But you are doing that in a way where you can experience it as a larger outer reflection that shows you, in a sense, how big you are. The vortex is you. It's a reflection of the true being, or shall we say a truer representation of the fuller being that you are. So understand that when you stand in a vortex, what you're doing is you're forming a relationship to your greater self. You are opening up and saying, I am willing to have a relationship with my higher self. I am willing to form this connection. I am willing to be more of who I am. And that is a profound commitment. It is a profound relationship, and it creates profound results in your life if you are willing to allow it to do so. It is a bold move, and we congratulate you for making a bold move to be willing to see and experience and be more of yourself. And we thank you for allowing us to participate in your willingness to do so and explore more of who you are. To us, this is a great gift that we thank you for, because through you, we then get to see that many more ways that creation has of expressing itself within the creation that it is. So, thank you for being multidimensional facets of the multidimensional crystal of all that is.
Now, this person is asking, saying that they used to be happy and excited in life. I suddenly lost my excitement about everything. I lost the joy inside me without understanding why. And despite extensive personal development and trying various permission slips, they still feel joyless. I've lost the hope that this will change. I can't pinpoint any negative beliefs. I feel confident, worthy, and deserving of joy. I usually do what I feel like doing in the moment, but it doesn't feel like true excitement. What can I do to reconnect with authentic joy and excitement?
Well, you may not have negative beliefs to let go of, but you may have erroneous definitions to let go of, because it sounds like you have a certain expectation of how you're supposed to feel doing certain things that you choose to do. There is nothing that says that you have to be jumping up and down all the time with absolute giddiness to experience the idea of acting on your passion. Do not misunderstand the definition of those words. A state of absolute calm and absolute peace can also be representative of the idea of acting on your passion. So the first thing you might want to do is let go of the way you think, let go of the way you expect you're supposed to feel by choosing to do the things that you do choose to do, and just see if you're entering a new state, a new level of appreciation and gratitude and peace and calm and tranquility and contentment, which in and of themselves can be variations of the feeling that you could associate with acting on your passion. It doesn't mean you have to be walking down the street and laughing your head off or being on fire all the time.
Thank you. Okay, this one is, how do you handle waiting for an uncontrollable outcome, especially when others pressure you for answers or plans depend on it? How can you influence such a decision indirectly and stay positive when action isn't possible?
Well, first of all, we will have to assume that by your term uncontrollable outcome, that you may be talking about the idea of dropping insistence. That isn't clear in your question. Nevertheless, if you have developed a plan for something to theoretically occur, remember that all plans need to be adaptable. In other words, a plan should contain within it the ability to change the plan where necessary, to go with the flow, to go with the currents, to go with what happens, with what changes. So there needs to be some flexibility in there. And then you may find there are things you can act on if you're not too rigid about exactly the way you think the plan should proceed. So you might need a little bit more flexibility in what you call a plan that can give you more options of what outcomes could happen that could still serve the same purpose, that could still feel like you have arrived at the conclusion that is necessary for everyone concerned.
So maybe another example of that would be a situation where someone's child was taken hostage and they're just waiting and waiting for word or that the person would be released. So they would feel very much like it was an uncontrollable situation and they have tremendous emotional
If that's
investment.
what this person meant by uncontrollable.
I'm using that as an example.
You're using it as a different example.
Yes, it can be. Yes.
All right. So what are you asking?
How do people under those kinds of stressful situations where the outcome is of such great import and at the same time they don't have control, what is the state of being to choose to ride that kind of a uncontrollable outcome type thing?
Well, the first step would be to understand that even though it may seem you have no control over the situation, you always have control over your state of being, no matter what's going on. Remember, it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens. That's the main principle. So staying in a state of being, I'm not saying you have to be happy that someone has been abducted, but staying in a stable state, a potentially positive state, or at the very least a neutral state, can allow you to be able to observe synchronicities that will come to you that can lead to solutions that would be beneficial for all. So you have to learn the lessons involved. You have to understand that it may be something that's part of your life path to bring you a lesson you need to learn how to deal with these things in a way that can be more constructive than what you're afraid of. So again, of course, it will always depend upon the specific situation and the specific circumstances and conditions of that situation. Even though you have posed a general question, you have to look at the specifics of what's going on, who's involved, what it is they hope to gain, and all of those things in order to allow synchronicity to direct your attention to specifically what can be done and specifically what actions can be taken. But the only way you're going to receive that information is by, at the very least, remaining in a neutral state, if not fully a positive state, knowing that you will be given the information you need to move forward in a constructive and positive way to learn the lessons that need to be learned and allow for a more positive and constructive outcome for all concerned.
And also the idea of being under such a stressful situation and then perhaps the person falls out of the neutral state and goes into a negative state. It seems like it's a lot about, is it controlling your thoughts or what thoughts will you allow, or how can people navigate things where...
All right, well, watch your language and how you define that, because people do not fall out of states. They choose to be in one state or another, even if that choice is unconscious. So again, they have to get in touch with their belief systems as to why they would choose to go into a state that they don't prefer about it. The idea is, again, if you understand how things work, you will know that if you truly desire some kind of a positive outcome, then staying in the neutral or positive state is going to give you the best opportunity to do that. Choosing to go into a fear-based state will not. Therefore, why would you choose it if the outcome is so dire? If the need for the outcome being positive is so important, why would you choose to go into a state that reduces the probability of having a positive outcome? All that takes is an understanding of how energy works and staying in the energy state that increases the probability of a positive outcome.
So it has to do with your conviction of how things work.
It has to do with an understanding, if you want to call it conviction, fine, but a true understanding and a clear understanding of how you create your reality, what your life path choices are all about in terms of how it helps you learn and grow. You have to understand how it works. And when you understand how it works, no other choice but to stay in a neutral or positive state will make sense.
Right. So this person is asking, how do we tell the difference when we should help someone versus leaving them to be on their own journey?
If they are in your life and appear to need assistance, then you have attracted them through your own synchronicity to at least offer them the possibility of receiving assistance from you. You can always, again, suggest to them ways in which they may improve their situation. But after you have delivered that information, unless they give you any kind of signal that they want more assistance with that and more clarity or understanding of how to apply that in their lives, if they don't do that, then you have been given a signal that you have given them all the information they're willing to take, and you can move on. So the fact that they're in your life can be a signal that at least they may be willing to have you give them the option. And whether they use it today or tomorrow or a year or 10 years from now is not the point. The point is, if they're in your life and they appear to need help, then synchronicity has told you that there may be something you can do to at least give them information that they will be able to use at some point in their life. So at least make the attempt up to the point where it seems that they no longer wish your assistance. They'll let you know, either through their body language or their language. They'll let you know. That's enough. They'll go away. They'll tell you to go away. They'll tell you to stop trying to help them. Something will let you know that you have given them everything they can handle, everything they can absorb. But at the very least, attempt to offer them something you believe in your heart of hearts may actually benefit them. That's the best you can do anyway.
Okay, and this individual is saying that they've lived a very difficult and unsafe life for so long that even though they understand your teachings, they struggle to implement them. How can they truly believe that they are safe and that everything will be okay? They can't seem to
By
let go.
understanding the concepts. They don't understand them. They may have a mental comprehension of the concepts that we're delivering, but clearly they don't understand them in the degree that they need to again realize how things actually work, because they are still choosing to struggle, still choosing to experience difficulty. So it must benefit them in their mind, in their belief system, somehow to continue to do so. Maybe they don't believe they can learn the lessons they need to learn any other way. They have to examine their belief systems and find out what benefit they're getting about continuing to choose to struggle through their lessons. They can always learn to process those challenges in ways that they can still learn the lessons in more positive, creative, and constructive ways. So they don't really understand the concepts, at least not clearly enough that they're willing to choose other ways and use their creative imagination to find the path that works for them, that is not so difficult and not so stressful. They must be getting something out of what they're experiencing as difficulty and stress.
Yes, I mean, you've talked about negative beliefs, and it sounds like some of the questions that we're getting are about people feeling like they can't control the negative beliefs that they're hearing in their head and they're buying into them. Is there anything you could suggest regarding that?
Yes, but you see, that's one of the beliefs itself. I can't control this. I can't help but buy into it. That's a negative belief. So they have to pay attention to the fact that that dialogue in their head is coming from the negative belief as well. It's one of the quote unquote tricks that negative beliefs have, is to convince you that there's nothing you can do, that it's an automatic function you just can't help. Therefore, they have to learn to identify even that language, even the voices in their head about how they can't do anything about it, as something coming from the negative belief. Again, it takes an understanding in detail, precisely, as to how negative beliefs work.
And
We
perhaps the idea.
understand that it can take some time to learn these things, but practice, practice, practice. But you have to understand the principle clearly enough to use it to your advantage. And one of the principles that's important to understand is, when you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, that feeling is the result of a negative belief telling you that there's nothing you can do about it, and you buying into it unconsciously.
So in a sense, it's like getting to the point where you don't empower negative beliefs and believe that they're stronger than your positive beliefs.
Because that's another belief, isn't it?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, the next question is, I'm eager to know who is vocally channeling through me. This individual is saying that, and that they sense the presence of this energy around them all the time. They also wonder if the fatigue they're experiencing is a result of the energy's presence.
If you're not used to higher frequency energies, yes, you can be tired by processing it. We would suggest that for right now, you allow yourself, if you're going to do vocal channeling or something of that nature, automatic writing or what have you, that you simply continue to practice without wondering who it is right now, as long as the information coming through you is positive and constructive, self-empowering for others and not controlling. Don't worry about the source right now. Allow yourself to know that your higher mind is involved, spirit guides are involved, your soul family is involved, your angelic beings are involved, your team is involved, your non-physical team is involved in some way, shape, or form. ETs may be involved, extra dimensionals may be involved, elementals may be involved eventually as well. But the idea is to practice getting used to clearing out any negative fear-based beliefs, any erroneous definitions that may be inhibiting your ability to process higher frequency energy and information, and just let it flow through you, and don't worry about what's coming out right now or who it is. Those are details that will reveal themselves in time. Again, as long as you feel that the information in some way, shape, or form is beneficial, not controlling, but self-empowering to yourself and others, and giving you an opportunity to grow and learn lessons that are important for you in your life, then just keep practicing.
And our next question is, what does excitement feel like? I've been able to differentiate between anxiety and my neutral excitement through my intentions at the time, but it seems like an unnecessarily long process of elimination. Is this high vibe state of following my excitement supposed to feel neutral, or should it feel, as commonly put, exciting?
It can feel either way. As we have said, even a neutral state is a positive state because it allows you the freedom to make a choice. The idea is, again, to know that acting on your passion doesn't mean you have to be jumping up and down. It can be a state of very calm acceptance and gratitude and appreciation. It can be a very meditative state. It can be a state of contentment, contemplation, many different kinds of experiences. But you just have to know that what you're choosing is truly in alignment with what you prefer, that it represents who you really are. That's really the thing to focus on. Then whatever feeling comes with that will contain whatever energies it needs to contain to bring you awareness of the lessons you need to learn and bring you clarity about what it is you're actually choosing and whether it is in alignment with who you prefer to be.
Thank you. This one is, could you please elaborate about how this reality actually functions? I've heard you say that this reality is not real. Each of us is sitting in a room by ourselves talking to our own higher selves. If every person we interact with on this planet is our own version of them, do we ever actually interact with any real souls, or is everything just a reflection that each of us manifests?
Everything in physical reality is a reflection of what you're manifesting, but you are interacting with real souls. It's just that in physical reality, you are interacting with your version of them, your creation of them, in the same way that when you talk to someone over your computer or your telephone, you are interacting with an electronic representation of them. So you're still interacting with a real being, but when you see somebody on your computer screen, you're not interacting with the actual being in that moment. You're interacting with an electronic presentation, electronic representation of them. So it's sort of like that. The idea that physical reality isn't real doesn't mean the experience isn't real, doesn't mean the connection isn't real. It's simply the methodology that we're describing about how you make that interface. We're simply saying the interface, in a sense, is one step removed, just because that's the nature of how physical reality is created. It's like you're creating a screen and receiving your version through your belief system filters of what that person represents to you, what that being represents to you, and they're doing the same with you. But you're still interacting with real beings on a higher level. It's just that you're deciding that you're going to interact with each other through this filter for the purpose of getting in touch with your belief systems and what you need to experience on your life path. That's just the way it works in physical reality, because you're creating the simulation. So that's what you're doing, is you're using the simulation to get a reflection of what it is you're putting out, so you can use it as a guideline to figure out what you need to focus on. But you're interacting with real souls, of course.
So why do people manifest things like abandonment, or being in love with someone that's not in love with them, or all kinds of things?
A million different reasons. Again, case by case. Everyone has a different life path and everyone is learning different lessons. You have to take it on an individual basis. I can't give you a general answer that addresses every single case that you're bringing up.
So in the sense of having the attitude to have that you're manifesting things where people aren't cooperating the way you want, or whatever the behavior is from people you care about that is not supportive of what you prefer, what is the best way to look at that in terms of how physical reality works?
Well, first and foremost, always check in with yourself to make sure that you don't have expectations based on fear-based or negative beliefs that are out of alignment with the lessons you really need to learn in a situation like that. Secondly, you can observe that maybe the other people involved are also learning their lessons and need to look at certain things for themselves as well, and that you're working this out with each other by processing and communication and whatever processes you need to go through to gain clarity about what the interaction is all about and why you are experiencing it in the way that you're experiencing it. But always, first and foremost, check in with yourself to make sure that you're not insisting and that your expectations are realistic. and truly representative of what's going on, that are the things you need to learn for your life path. Then you can investigate, perhaps, if the other people are willing, what's going on in their life path. But always start with yourself.
So the attitude to take whenever you're encountering beings in your life that are not in the relationship the way you prefer is to
Always,
just
as we have said, in the simplest possible way, you always check in with yourself first and say, is there something in this situation that helps me understand more about what I'm putting out? If you truly have an honest self-assessment that it has nothing to do specifically with lessons that you need to learn about your own belief systems, then you might as a next step, say, all right, well, maybe I'm here to reflect to them something that they need to understand to help them with their life path and their life lessons and their belief systems. But usually in your society at this point in your evolution, it's going to be something that works in all directions for all people concerned. There is always something each person can get out of it to learn about what they need to learn to become more of who they truly are. That's why relationships are so important to understand as reflective to each other, to help each other become more of who you actually are. It's very rarely only in one direction. There's always something every party in a relationship can learn for their own life path.
okay, maybe this is the same idea, but this person is asking, are the challenges, trauma, and relationship issues we experience solely our own creation, or do others, circumstances, situations play a role? Is anyone truly at fault, or is there a better way to view the interconnectedness of it all?
We would not use the term at fault. We would use the term life path choices to learn lessons to help your soul grow. So it depends upon the facility that you have to divine what those lessons are, absorb them, and learn them, that gives you greater and greater clarity and more expansion in your consciousness by understanding that whatever scenario is happening, there is something you can get out of it that has to do with your life path, and that your life path is always intertwined with other life paths as well, in the way that we've already described reflectively. No one is isolated. All life paths are interconnected. And the idea is to get out of it what you need to learn for yourself, and to help the others also get out of it what they need to learn for themselves. But always start with yourself and what you need to learn.
Regarding working with the subconscious, hypnosis has been a method used to explore it and assist medically. Is it beneficial, and can we improve our method and use, and how?
Again, like previous questions, it can be beneficial for those individuals that are attracted to use that particular permission slip. It can be very effective for many of you because it does help the majority of people in the collective idea of the themes you are exploring to unlock from any particular reality concept that you may be holding on to and truly be capable of letting it go. So it can be an effective permission slip because it taps into the collective unconscious of your reality and the themes that the collective may have agreed to explore, and lets you, in many cases, be relatively fluid with them or free of them. So yes, but it's still nonetheless a permission slip. And again, it can be more effective the more you understand how it can be a skeleton key of sorts to unlock every different kind of lock that may be experienced in your life. But again, it's up to the individual to decide whether or not that's something that they will gravitate to, that they are attracted to. Remember that you're hypnotizing yourself all the time anyway, to believe certain things that aren't necessarily real, at least temporarily so. So all of you, in that sense, in order to have a physical reality, are under the influence of different types of hypnosis.
Okay, and is the subconscious mind like a doorway to the higher consciousness? Is the subconscious part of the mind or the higher self?
It's part of the mind, But it is the part, again, that acts as a go-between between the physical conscious mind and the unconscious mind to determine exactly what portions of information that reside in the unconscious mind and the higher self the physical mind is ready to process. So it acts as a kind of a gatekeeper, the subconscious mind, to let through whatever the conscious mind feels it is ready to deal with in terms of facing different belief systems and processing them and letting the negative ones go. So, of course, everything is a reflection of what the higher mind chose to experience, but it is a specific part that acts as a gatekeeper for what the conscious mind is ready to deal with.
Okay, and what, if any, impact do things like autism, ADD, and things like that have on the triunal structure and the way our belief systems are formed?
I'm going to put this very simply. The effect that those kinds of situations or conditions have is to either make the subconscious mind more or less open to bringing through certain ideas in a very specific way. So, in other words, the subconscious mind may now be relegated to bringing only certain things through, but bringing them through more fully than it ever would for a quote-unquote typical trilateral conscious mind. So it depends upon what, again, the theme of exploration is, what this spirit or soul has decided to experience, and how it will use the subconscious mind as a gateway to bring through those specific things that are relevant for the experience that you are calling autism or those other conditions you have named. So it's like having the subconscious mind have a way of doing slightly different kinds of duty, slightly different kinds of filtering or not filtering, depending upon the theme that is being explored by that particular consciousness.
And with multiple personality disorder, is that a mental issue or is it a spiritual issue?
Well, it can be both, because again, remember, as above, so below, so there can be affectations in the mental consciousness that will allow for that particular being to experience those things that may originate in a other dimensional or spiritual nature. But the idea fundamentally, and again, not for every case, but fundamentally, is that an individual is tapping into multiple parallel realities, multiple versions of themselves, without necessarily having the filtering system or the control system imposed upon it that would allow them to function in an orderly fashion, communicating with one another in a way that still allows the individual to function, quote unquote, normally in your reality. So it's a type of tapping into multiple dimensions, multiple parallel realities, without the ability to focus in any one particular one in an effective way, but again, can be done for a variety of reasons that may be personal to that particular consciousness experiencing that.
So is the person tapping into multiple spirits and having them all share one body, or?
No, it's not the sharing in the body, but it's an expression through the body, if that's what you mean by that. They don't all reside in the body per se, but the body can function as a reflector or a mirror for different versions of spirit and consciousness and physical beings in other parallel realities temporarily. So again, sort of like your telephone analogy, you can have different friends speak to you through the same phone, but it's not like they're inhabiting the phone. It's like the idea is that the phone and your body is a device that can, based on its frequency, allow different voices and different experiences to come through temporarily.
So, is creativity from the higher mind, the subconscious mind, or the unconscious mind?
It is mostly from the higher mind, although there can be versions of it that filter into the unconscious and subconscious and even the conscious mind in the form of inspiration. But as we said, the idea is that the higher mind is the conceiver. The brain is the receiver, and the physical conscious mind is the perceiver. So what you're calling creativity is a conception that originates in the higher mind, in the higher self, and filters down in whatever ways are relevant through the unconscious, subconscious, and into the conscious mind in ways that allow the conscious mind, the conscious being, the personality to be creative. But all of that comes from source and therefore filters down, so to speak, through the higher mind to the conscious mind, the triune conscious mind.
How does that relate to the higher mind, to the oversoul, to the to the unconscious, subconscious? I notice there's confusion often.
All right. Again, without going into too much detail and too many layers and levels, because you can create a number of them anyway for various purposes. Of course, everything starts with all that is source. It all comes from that. It's all an expression of that. But it goes down into different levels of oversoul, whether you want to say it's a universal oversoul or a galactic oversoul or a solar system oversoul or a planetary oversoul is relatively arbitrary. But it goes from the oversoul level into the individual soul level, and then the individual soul creates the idea of the non-physical higher mind and the triune physical mind. Then through the experiences of the physical mind, you create the concept of the unique spirit that is germane and unique to that particular physical experience, and that becomes part of the soul. But the idea, again, is that it usually goes from oversoul to higher mind, to unconscious to subconscious to conscious mind, that then through its experience creates a representative spirit that is a unique representation of the experience of that particular personality that then resides in the soul and the oversoul and all that is from that point forward, speaking linearly.
Awesome. Mind filtering UFOs. Does the unconscious and subconscious minds that are responsible for filtering out things filter out UFOs, fairies, elementals, other beings from the conscious mind and limit what it can receive? And if so, is it being due to negative beliefs or is it for other reasons?
Both. It can be for fear-based beliefs that it's doing that filtering. It can be something that the conscious mind believes it's not ready for. That would cause upset and imbalance within it to perceive those things because of its theme of exploration. And it can also simply be that a being is not ready in timing for the idea, and it simply can be outside the theme of exploration. But again, there are limitations there that are dissolving. You are becoming more aware that these beings exist, that these forms of consciousness exist, that there are ET beings, that there are extra-dimensional beings, that there are elemental beings, there are different aspects of consciousness that are connected to your planet in a variety of levels. And therefore, it's really simply a matter of when it's the appropriate timing for you to allow and open up and dissolve the barriers between the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious minds to the degree where they can perceive more in the conscious mind of what is all around it all the time. The unconscious mind is always aware of these things, just as the higher mind is. But again, it's a reservoir that holds these things back because the subconscious mind determines from the belief system of the conscious mind what the conscious mind is ready to perceive and experience and interact with based on the theme of exploration and the belief systems that exist at that moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, you've said that to access the subconscious mind, unconscious mind, and so on, that we have to raise our vibration.
Yes.
But how do we know that we are in that state? How do we know that we've accessed the subconscious or the unconscious mind? And do you have a tip to achieve the most frequent type of vibration needed to access the subconscious and the unconscious?
Last question first, follow the formula, because it leaves nothing relevant out and raises your vibration when you're acting on your passion. And the question, how do we know when we're there, will become obvious when you actually have raised your vibration. To ask the question means the vibration is not high enough. When you are in the high enough frequency, that question will no longer be relevant, and it will be exactly apparent what level you're on, what vibrational state you're in. So raising your vibration will eliminate the need to ask a question, when am I in that vibration? How do I know when I'm in that vibration? It's a self-canceling idea.
Is there a frequency level that you can mention that you would need to be at in order to receive that information?
It may be slightly different for everyone, but in general, it usually happens for most humans on your planet when you have achieved something above 180,000 cycles per second.
So if you're in the channeling state, so to speak, or you're following your passion, so you're in that state, there's
Yes.
different levels of excitement and full consciousness commitment to the experience, because maybe things are running in the background.
Let me correct that.
Okay.
There are different expressions of excitement, but there aren't different levels of excitement. Excitement is excitement. Passion is passion. It can express itself in different ways, and there can be different vibrational states to those expressions, but the raw core idea of passion or excitement is a pure vibrational state without different levels in it. That's the point we're making, is that when you're actually functioning more holistically in the vibration of passion and excitement, the idea of much of the so-called confusion about what level you're on disappears, because by definition, what comes with that is a complete recognition by definition of exactly what pure state you're in.
Okay, so I know that a lot of people, after they experience you and the communications from you, they feel a deep sense of inspiration and excitement about their lives and what they can do.
Yes.
Comparing that to, say, someone who loves to paint, but while they're painting, they're thinking about the bills they have to pay or something like that.
Then they're not in their passion. They're not in their passion at that moment.
So you would be able to feel that inspired sense that we can feel after interacting with you. That would be a true indication of that higher frequency. Yes.
Yes, stay there.
Okay.
No matter what you have to think of. The idea is, again, you must remember that this all happens in perfect timing. There will be a time when, if it is important for you to ponder the idea of a bill, it will come in the form that is still part of your passion. It won't be a distraction. It won't be a less than experience. It won't distract you from the passion of the moment. You'll find the right time to be passionate about the idea of paying a bill, if that is something that is truly necessary as part of your passion. So these things come in pure form. They don't obstruct each other. They don't interact in a way that is destructive to one another. It still allows you to come in a form in perfect timing that allows you to experience each and every one of those things in its pure, exciting form. Again, this is an issue of perfect timing.
Okay. And you've talked a lot about memories and how we create our memories from the present, and also how we can change the past by shifting our frequency.
Yes.
So how does that relate to other people that are in our lives if their memories aren't aligned with ours because we've shifted frequencies and shifted the planet that we're on? How does that synchronize between the people in our lives and what we remember and what they think is true?
Well, again, as we have said, for a while, you are agreeing to play the game of continuing to be aware of people that have made different choices and are experiencing different things. You're allowing that to be part of your game for a while. Eventually you won't. Eventually there will be no, shall we say, disagreement on the overall picture of what you're experiencing when you have shifted to the version of Earth where everyone is relatively harmonious and in sync with one another. But for now, for the purpose of experiencing process and for the purpose of still giving yourself the opportunity to change your mind and make different choices, you have agreed, even during your shifting, to shift to versions of Earth where you're still aware that there are different choices you could make that may not be relevant or in alignment with what you prefer. That's part of the choice you're making for now, to give everyone a chance to make their choices, to see in you different experiences they could choose for themselves, and for you to see in them different ideas you could choose for yourself. That's part of the game you're playing, even while shifting to different versions of Earth.
So what kind of a timeline are we looking at with this in terms of when you would experience Earth and be experiencing people having similar memories to you?
Of course, it will vary from individual to individual, but again, we could say that the overall bubble would probably be about 50 of your years.
Okay, and so for those individuals who may not live for another 50 years, they would just experience varying degrees of that.
Yes. Again, it will be per individual. Some may go on ahead, some may lag behind. There may be an average to it. So you can't just say it's true for everyone, but we're giving you an overall average for the collective of your reality, barring the exceptions. About 50 years for everyone that you perceive in the version of Earth you're in to seem relatively harmonious to whatever idea, relatively in sync to whatever idea you're experiencing, whether it's positive or negative.